So coming to what is communication, there are two parties. Let's say, there's party one, there's party two. And between these two parties, there is a gap, which you want to call it the void. So the purpose of communication is to bridge the two parties together. Okay, and that is, communication is the act of bringing two parties together, so there is a meeting of mind. This is the challenge, how to bring your message across the void. The void here represents noise, disturbances, obstacles. I have my way of seeing things, you have your way of seeing things. I have my experience, you have your experience. I have my personality, you have your personality. So bridging these differences to bring two bodies together, this is communication. The more you're aware of yourself, inner self, the better communicator you are, because as the saying goes, the person who is self-aware of him or herself is able to relate to the other as well. Being a good communicator is like being a very good host in a party. You got to get out of your way, out of your comfort zone to bring others into your energy field. So we look at these slides here. Different people have different personas and different, these are of course, consultants who drew them up. So everything is black and white and everything is in a box. In reality, you could be a mixture of different quadrants. You can have somebody who is a relator, right? You can see here on the top, the left side, the relator, they are very active listeners, great team players. They are very happy to stay in the background of things, be happy to be doing the work and not getting the credit because they like to be at the background. They are very shy to express themselves and they're not very assertive. They will be happy to take, orders or commands from others because they want to be a team player and they want to do a very good job. You have on the other spectrum, the directors, in a very authoritative commander style. They got a very good vision of where they want to go and how they want to go, and they're very impatient for change, extremely stubborn and confident, so they do not like to be challenged. But they want things done, and if needed, they are willing to delegate. So you often see that, in top management ranks, they tend to have that very director style. You have also the other spectrums like the socializer. Socializers are the ones who will bring people together. They are, like you say, the social butterflies. Everybody likes them in a party and they're very good at bringing people out of their shell. They're extremely conversational and very persuasive. Once you listen to them, you're going to buy whatever they say. So they, however, they can also be, being the social butterfly, they like to be liked. So they're kind of seeking for approval and they like to feel included. That is your socializer persona. And then you have the other extreme, which is very introverted thinker, deep thinker, extremely independent. I rather get the things done myself because I know it's going to be done well than having to delegate. I will do everything and take on everything. Extremely critical, very good at problem solving. Just leave it to them. The task will be done. They're extremely accurate and they tend to have the challenge of being too much of a perfectionist. So you can see where you belong to in that spectrum. Just be careful that in communication, the other person that you are relating to may not be your style. So if you tend to be the thinker, and for you, what great looks like is a very deep analysis, super accurate, everything has to be perfectly, matched out. You will take all the time in the world to get down to the granular details of the planning. But if you're opposite the director style, or the intuitive communicator who's like, show me the big picture while we're doing this, And if you feel that what you want and what you think is great is a whole level of details, you will lose the attention of the director and intuitive communicator, because for them, they're not interested in the nitty-gritty. They want to see the money. They want to see what is the purpose, and they don't want to get tangled in the weeds. So as when you're crafting out a strategy, let's say a strategy or a training roadmap for the company, which was Harley Davidson, don't get into the granular planning. Let people have a vision of your next 5 years and what are the key building blocks or competencies, and how does that relate to the business growth for retail in the next 5 years. And it has to be extremely simple. It can be extremely repetitive, and that is good. We don't want to be reinventing the wheel and offering new sexy things because people are asking for novelty all the time. We're staying to the foundation because this is what we need to build. So in that sense, I really take that as a key takeaway. If you want to have attention from top management, it's always to keep things very simple, very high level, and show them how whatever you're doing is achieving that growth objectives or the business strategy. However, if you're talking to process people, analytical people, if you're looking at the big picture, they might not understand, or they feel extremely uncomfortable because they don't see the granular. Before you get into a meeting, study, try and find out who you're talking to in that meeting. Don't come in there blind, not knowing who you're talking to, because then you want to pitch your message depending on your audience. So for example, if you're speaking to a market lead, you don't want to waste your time looking at all the numbers. He or she might be slightly analytical, so you might have a couple of key graphs, but that's it, that's all. You want to really get their focus and their excitement on the big picture, why we're doing this, how much contribution we're going to add to the bottom line, what are the difference we're going to make to our customer experience, and get them excited on these high-level details. Give them a few charts and graphs to show that, hey, this is backed up by study, and the rest of the information, because they might pass this on to their fellow teammates who are the very analytical types to study your proposal. You want to have a full backup of appendixes with detailed information at the back. So it's very important. I've seen people going into meetings without knowing who they're talking to, and sometimes you're talking to the person who you're talking to about a project, but that person already knows about the project, and you've just wasted half an hour introducing the project, whereas that person is actually part of the initial kickoff team. And it's very embarrassing. And secondly, it's very insulting to the person who had just wasted half an hour of their time to listen to you on whatever you're talking about, that they were part of the founding members. And remember that people always have a sense of ego and pride. And when you communicate, you want to give people that ego or pride to say that, hey, I see you, I know you, and I'm catering my message for you. And that always lands very well. And also when you're doing the research on knowing who you're talking to, you will know who are the key decision makers in the table. And oftentimes what we think or what we assume that person X is the decision maker, in true fact, this person will delegate the role of acceptance to another person on the table. So it's extremely important to be sensitive to know, hey, who in this crowd, what do they do? What is their role? How do they interact? And if you're not aware about such interactions or knowing who is the key decision maker or influencer or input provider, why don't you ask at the beginning? Do your homework, talk to them to know what is the dynamics and interaction of this team so that you can pitch your proposal, it's like a sales pitch, and you're addressing the point correctly. So It's very simple, very common sense, but a lot of times we fail to do the due diligence because we take communication for granted. We go in and out of meetings without taking the time to understand who we are talking to. Who's our audience? Do we know their personality, their quirkiness? What is their background? And when you speak, you make that effort to study that person in your crowd and you make that presentation, it will land a lot better because you are prepared to face your audience. And they know that you know about them. And that makes a big difference already in breaking the ice.